Welcome to Talking Peace with the Western New York Peace Center. We're very happy to be here on WBNY, and we're so grateful to, first of all, Buff State, WBNY, Buffalo's original alternative radio station, coming out of Buffalo State University. And we thank our producer. Hi, Greg. Thank you for making this possible.
Absolutely.
Here we are all remotely joining. And so we're so grateful to WBNY. Of course, I want to give a little shout out to our other producer, Richard Wicca, and Think Twice Radio as well, who helps us with all kinds of shows, as Talking Peace shows as well. And when I think of gratitude, I think of especially our Indigenous friends and relations, as well as um, our Black and brown, people of color, and people who've been oppressed or just have the wisdom to know that gratitude is the attitude, that thankfulness is so key. And so here we are on stolen Haudenosaunee land, in particular, I think for all of us on this, in the who are on the show right now, that we are on the Seneca or Anondawaka, as they call themselves, land that has been taken through trickery and violence over the years, and with all kinds of racism and oppression that they've suffered. And in spite of that, they open all of their gatherings or events with a Ganonyo, which is a Thanksgiving address, just acknowledging all the things that they're thankful for. And that thankfulness is also very much in our Black and brown people of color. So the Indigenous people start out with thanking the people that made it possible, the gathering, with thanking Mother Earth for giving us everything we need for a good life here on this earth, for the living waters, Mini-Wachoni, water is life, for all the wonderful plants and animals in this creation that teach us so much and give us so much in every kind of way, and all the different beauty that is around us, including the trees giving us the very air we breathe, and we so many other elements that they would mention in this creation, including the sky world and brother sun, grandmother moon, and just the sky world, and then of course the creator and the love that animates it all. So then they would say Nyahweh, and the people say Nyo. So I'll say Nyahweh.
Yo.
Nyo.
Thank you. So we have a very important, again, topic, as always. I think there's so much to talk about because there's so much happening and so much need. And one of them is what we need from our elected officials. So there's plenty to talk about there. And I'm so glad I'll just go around the circle there to start with Rachel Macklin Oshevsky, or Macklin, or Max as we like to call her. So Macklin has been helping us in so many ways with organizing, with different events, and she is an activist. She or they are an activist and doing all kinds of wonderful work, both through Power to the People, our City Action Buffalo, and is a grant writer for the Western New York Peace Center. God knows we need, and we are so grateful for your help on that. Speaking of gratitude, so Macklin, welcome.
Thank you so much, Vicki. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here speaking with you today about this very, very pressing and important subject, especially with the special election going on here in Western New York very, very soon. So
that's something we need to talk. Boy, there's so much to talk about. We'll get some of it in. Okay, and then Greg, which I already said, Greg, we're so grateful for you to produce this show, Greg Harvey, who also is can I say that? You're also the executive producer for the Buffalo Bills Radio Network.
Absolutely.
And the chief engineer here at WBNY. So thank you for all your service.
You're very welcome. Glad to be here.
Thanks, Greg. And last but not least, Peter McNamara. Peter is well, I would say convener, chair, or just very vital lead of Power to the People, which is now we're blessed to say is a task force of the Western New York Peace Center, and he is co-chair of the Western New York Peace Center Coordinating Board. Just a wonderful activist and web designer, by the way, wonderful web designer. Peter, thanks for coming.
And thanks for having me here. It's always a great to be here.
Well, we're so glad. We so appreciate all the work you do as well, which is there's so much to do, and there's so much that you do. So as usual, we like to start out with our values piece. So when we think of what we need from our elected officials, what are the values that you think of in respect to that topic? So we'll start with you, Max.
Ooh, the values.
Yeah,
Well, I would like to see integrity, accountability, transparency, work ethic. And also, I think that specifically in this era, humility, compassion, and empathy. Leadership is a never an easy position. When you become a leader, you are under the scrutiny of everyone at any given moment for any single thing you do. And as the old adage goes, you can't please everyone all the time, right? But in reality, what we are seeing right now, in my humble opinion, is that our elected leadership is not listening to us or being held accountable. So my biggest thing is accountability. Thank you.
No, thank you so much, because I want to say with that whole, that first you mentioned about somewhere between a half a dozen and a dozen things that are every one of them is yes, 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 which gives me the good opportunity to say that Macklin won the Western New York, was awarded the Western New York Peace Center's Emerging Leaders Award, which that just shows what a great amount of leadership, great knowledge of what is needed, and willingness and ability to provide what is needed in leadership. So thank you so much. Greg, do you want to add any values or even emphasize any?
I'm going to invoke the ditto.
Yeah, for obvious reason. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, all encompassing. Macklin, you nailed it.
She did. They did. Thank you. Thanks, Greg.
Yep.
And Peter, anything?
I'll add on representation, true and genuine representation, that when somebody is an elected official, they're elected by the people to represent their people. And I don't know if I can say more often than not. It feels like more often than not, we see officials choose to represent the few over the many. And we see the minority of the rich billionaires sway a little too many officials away from the people that actually voted for them. So as long as they remember to truly represent their people, I think a lot of what Mac said will follow.
So truly representing, thank you so much. That is really important, because we see a lot of times what they're representing is where the dollars are coming from. So that's where integrity was the first one I thought of. And I want to say, well, I always say truth and love, and I could say that, and it really is true. But I do want to highlight, I love to quote Cornel West on this when he said, if everyone had moral integrity and universal solidarity, we would be in a very different place. So those things are important. And I really think maybe I need to add the principles and the spirit. So all the principles that Macklin used, and especially those ones at the end too, the humility, the compassion, which is right in there with the solidarity. So anyway, all of those things. Yes, those are the things. Those are all great values. So let us start with, since you mentioned, the election, I'd just like you to talk about, we can go around on that just a little bit because that is very imminent. Early voting is going on right now. And I know that a lot of people, of course, we are 501c3. So I'm going to say you're not going to get advice on how to vote on anything from the Western New York Peace Center and on who to vote for or anything. Though that's not something we do as a 501c3. But anyway, Macklin. What is going on with the election?
So yeah, Vicki, that's a great question. So as we know here in Buffalo,
I just want to say, can you really speak more on behalf of OCAB? I can say too, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so go ahead.
I don't know if I can speak on behalf of OCAB about the election, but I can say that they are doing the work. But let's just start at the top here. So as we know, here in Buffalo, we just got a new mayor. Before I get into this too much, I just want to quickly acknowledge that today Sean Ryan did a executive order. Really, he spoke about it live today, earlier this morning, and he announced that Buffalo police would not be permitted to work in conjunction with ICE. That the city government would not be working with ICE. So he put a hard line down and he stood up for the integrity of our city, the city of good neighbors, where we welcome everyone, where we care for everyone, where we don't ask what your political affiliation or your favorite sports team is even before we shovel you out of the snow. Okay. So I just wanted to quickly acknowledge and thank Mayor Ryan. I'm thrilled that he's our mayor now, but as a result of him taking this position, the 61st Senate District needed a new representative. So what has been going on is that we have a special election for the 61st State Senate District. It began this Saturday. It's running through this Sunday, February 1st. And we have Republican candidate Dan Gagliardo going up against Jeremy Zellner, who is the Democratic nominee. Now, what we've been seeing in this election, and I don't want to occupy too much of this, so please, Vicki, feel free to cut me off if I get too deep on it. But essentially what we've seen is that the Erie County Democratic Committee needed to rush to get a candidate, or at least that's what they've said. They needed to kind of push this along because they needed to get someone ready to go for this election that's happening right now. So they pushed through the candidacy and nomination of Jeremy Zellner, who was the chair of that same committee. So that kind of was a big red flag for a lot of us Buffalonians out here, a lot of us people who have been donating and participating in the Democratic Party out here in Buffalo. And I think, honestly, if I were to say anyone said it best, it was India Walton. And I think I have her quote pulled up here, if you don't mind me just sharing that with you quickly. And of course I've lost it. So instead of sharing that quote, I apologize. And Vicki, you're muted, by the way, or something. Oh, there you go.
Go ahead. No, keep going.
But essentially India Walton, who has been a leader as the Democratic primary winner for the mayoral election a couple years ago, who was actually snubbed by the local Democratic Party and then lost a write-in campaign to Byron Brown because of the local Democratic Party. There is some friction here. There are some people who are very, very concerned about what they're perceiving as sort of nepotism, sort of a political pipeline coming out of the Erie County Democratic Committee. And India Walton called it out, and she said, this isn't right. There's supposed to be a process. You're supposed to allow your constituency to be voting on who is going to represent them in these campaigns. And I think she's right.
Right. Well, thank you for that. And first of all, I want to thank you especially for bringing up right off the top about Sean Ryan's declaration this morning, which he had already said something to that effect, but I know that he just reiterated it live, which is so important after the recent murders in Minneapolis. And, there's plenty of illegal, immoral, and violent kidnappings of people that are going on right here in Buffalo as well. So I thank you, because what we need from electeds is what we just saw from Sean Ryan on this issue. And the fact that he added in not just the police, but all of the city employees is huge. So that is something that wasn't as obvious it hasn't been presented as often as a need, but it is the overriding need. So it's very much more comprehensive. And I want to say, not all, Erie County has not declared that per se, although they've said they won't cooperate unless this is per Mark Polcars, who came out to support the vigil to mourn the recent deaths in Minneapolis. So he was out there, and he said that the county employees will not cooperate unless they have signed papers. So I think that's an important distinction. That is a distinction, because sometimes they sign papers. We've seen every kind of a trick and an illegal act. So there's no reason to think that they might not try to fool people or trick people about the paperwork they're presenting. But anyway,
I think we should ask him, though. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to jump in, but I think we should ask him what he means by signed papers. Like, is that a judicial order? Is that a judicial warrant? Or is that just one of those ICE form letters that they made up?
That's what he said is a signed judicial warrant, signed by a judge. So that's what he said. And those are supposed to be good, but it's hard to say they're good when we have at the Supreme Court level that they've legalized racism. But anyway, we need to turn it over to Peter. So Peter, what do you want to say about either or both of those two topics that we have on the table right now? One about cooperating with ICE, and the other is about the upcoming election.
Right. So on the topic of the executive order, I think it's great that we're seeing more executive action being taken to limit abuses of law with ICE. I think I'd also like to see more progress on the legislative side, where we have the New York for All bill and the MELT Act, both bills that are not law yet, but they would be great to become laws. New York for All would also restrict local police officers in New York State from cooperating with ICE and other federal enforcement. And then the MELT Act would prevent masked officers in public trying to be, secret police. Even like an undercover officer has to reveal themselves when they make an arrest. They're supposed to identify themselves as police. And if they don't do that at any point, how do they be distinguished from some random kidnapper off the street? So, I think if we have that legislative pressure of New York for All and the MELT Act being passed, in addition to executive orders like Sean Ryan's, that would be ideal to have as much pressure on both the executive and legislative side for people to do things the right way.
So important. Thank you very much. The legislative arm of the government is much needed. And as you mentioned, New York State for All, people should let their electeds know. And that means our state officials to know that we want New York for All passed. New York for All. And if you want to look at the New York Immigration Coalition, has all kinds of information about it. You can get into the weeds about it, whatever you want to see. But the basic thing is just about, legislating that for city and county officials, as you said, will not cooperate with ICE or Homeland Security or Border Patrol or anything like that. So let us go. Did you want to say anything about the election also that is going on right now?
I don't have as much to say about that side of it right now.
Okay, fine. So I'm going to say, we, of course, as I said, we don't tell people how to vote. I think the importance of process and the importance of not having a conflict of interest is something that has been well established in business, in government, in people's personal affairs, about who's managing your affairs in all kinds of ways. So I think that that's something that is being ignored in a very big way. So that is a problem in and of itself, is that we need people to be disinterested in certain ways, and we need the principles and the spirit to be driving the way things go, not people's preferences, and not using little tricks to try and get your way. So that, for example, when people resign in the middle of during their term so that they can pick their successor, or position a successor, that's a problem as well. And we've been seeing that. It doesn't always work, but it often does work. And it's not really the way things need to work. When you make a commitment to a term, you fill your term. Anyway, so, I'd like us to move on to the federal officials and some of the activities that we have going on, especially because all of this, what we need from our elected officials. One of the things that we at the Western New York Peace Center have really been focusing on is that we need our elected officials to help us stop government-sponsored violence. So we haven't been seeing that from a lot of them. And in fact, when you look at the budgets of any of them, then you see how much we're not getting that, when the majority of a budget is or an over-representative amount of it is going to hired guns. Macklin.
I don't understand why the budget for ICE and the Department of Homeland Security is larger than the Marines, the FBI. It does not. I can't name all of them, but it's like multiple federal agencies that have been functioning and protecting us for decades have significantly less money than ICE, and ICE is now operating as the most funded agency in our federal government, and it's disgusting. It's despicable. And the thing that I've been looking at a lot is when we look at this administration and we look at what's going on, we see the shallow version, the obvious thing that's happening, and then we have to look further and understand what's going on underneath it. What is informing this? What is the subtext? What is the purpose and the goal of all of this? And when you look at the expansion of ICE and DHS authority, we're looking at a huge pool of corporate profiteers who are supporting this initiative and getting paid. They're making bank off of this. Millions, billions of dollars are getting poured into these private corporations who are facilitating these activities, facilitating the detention centers, providing vehicles and support and technology, surveillance to ICE and DHS. This is a huge opportunity for capitalist venture. And that's what we are seeing in this right now. This is not the United States government trying to protect this country. This is a group of individuals who have lobbied for this in order to profit. This is the nefarious arm of a group of individuals who do not believe that Black and brown people belong in this country, who have partnered with them and basically sold their souls for profit and to sow sorrow. And it's horrible.
So I want to say, one thing I really wanted to say, even in the intro, was no one is illegal on stolen land. But anyway, I want to give Greg a crack at this. Is there anything that you've just heard? I know you're also producing and have other things on your plate. Is there any kind of a comment? I want to give you an opportunity as we're going around.
Well, basically, with the the latest killing in Minneapolis, which weighs heavily on me, and I have these daydreams in in my twisted brain of maybe I should go to Minneapolis and join the fight, so to speak. But at the same time, I worry if I would do that, would I cause more of a problem since I don't live there and I don't know the area? Would I be more of a liability?
Well, thank
That's
you so much.
responsible.
Thank you. I want to say, first of all, they say bloom where you're planted, and there's rumors that we're going to have a lot coming down on us, and we already have quite a bit. So that's one thing, and there's a lot of organizing going on around that. So thank you for bringing that up, though. And I do want to just interject that on 2 hours of organizing, we had, I'm estimating 300 people. It was certainly hundreds of people on Bidwell and Elmwood on Saturday night in response to that heinous murder. So anyway, thank you for bringing that up, Peter.
On that note, I feel that type of concern didn't really stop people from going to DC when DC was under, a lot of escalation of pressure. And I think while it's certainly possible to do things at home, and we should do things at home too, in our neighborhood, I don't think it's impossible for people to go to faraway places and still be prepared. Yes, it takes more time and research. You should look up the maps and the major spots before when you're going into a place where things may get hot, but it's not impossible. It needs more preparation than doing things in your local neighborhood, of course, but it's not impossible.
Well, and it also, thank you for saying that. It also means that you really need to lean on the people who are there, who already know what's going on. Right?
Absolutely. On Mac's earlier point about money, I would also say it's a lot about power as well. When we see the Venezuela situation, for example, we make a thinly veiled excuse for power grab where, oh, we're freeing them from a dictatorship. Okay, but did you really, or are you putting them under new management? And when we see ICE operating in the U.S., I'm concerned that, again, it's another thinly veiled excuse of, oh, we're deporting the illegal immigrants who are hurting us so much. There's a debate on how much they're actually hurting us, but then it seems to get expanded to, like we talked about earlier, all black and brown people. And then, more recently with Renee Nicole Good and Alex Priddy being expanded to random white U.S. citizens. It's clear this is far beyond the scope of what ICE is actually supposed to be doing. And in addition to having that financial incentive for people to sell ICE supplies, there's also just that power grab of having a large force to use violence against people that you may disagree with.
Right.
Yeah.
You're so right.
But also keep in mind, there's the financial incentive to do these acts. There's the $5,000 per detainee that is now a fee that they are charged for detention. It's essentially a detention fee of $5,000 that the Trump administration is imposing, in addition to other legal fees that they're dropping on people. So they're just profiting from everything. And if you look at the way that this family has profited in the tech field, in AI, through at foreign affairs meetings, at meetings with representatives of other nations, they're making backdoor deals and talking about private corporations and companies that they own and investments that they can make while making global and international deals.
Absolutely.
That are supposed to be about us, about our government, about our relationship, not their personal relationships. So we're seeing that. So of course we have to consider the financial implications that are driving all of this ICE activity and the wars that are being proposed in Greenland and in Venezuela. Because again, you keep hearing them say things like minerals, metals, oil. They're very, very transparent about what they're going after.
So the corruption is really one of the things. And what we see as an absolute fact is that the income and asset distribution in this country. I know I always sound like such an economist when I did study economics, but the point being, the money is so concentrated, ever more at the top and ever less at the bottom and middle, so that we now have one person who has more money than the majority of the people, all the 52% of people in this country. One person has as much money as them, and the top three has as much money as, I think it was like 90% of people. So it's gotten so much worse, and the number of billionaires has increased. So the income and asset distribution, the very skewed, ridiculous. I mean, after a certain amount of millions, how much difference can it make? So I want to get to one specific thing, which is that we have with this campaign. First of all, I appreciate everything that everyone has said that just illuminates so much of what people need to understand about what is going on, including that ICE is the carceral system. So that system that has been a racist system of from the plantation to the penitentiary is also to black and brown people is now on steroids, with the two arms going both the regular criminal justice system and the whole immigration system and deportation system that are just massively part of the same big money-making system of oppression and incarceration and enslavement, really, because the people are often working as well. But I just want to say, so part of this campaign, we have to stop government-sponsored violence, stop U.S. military aggression, etc., and no war on Venezuela, is that we did have some gatherings, really, too, about Langworthy, and there's a whole campaign on that is to be continued. If you're interested in getting involved, we can plug you into that. Just contact the Peace Center at office@wnypeace.org or call us. But anyway, this now with all the snow and everything we've had, we'll see if this ends up being how this ends up happening or whether it ends up happening. But we have scheduled a visit to the Larkin building for 11:30 on Wednesday. That's Wednesday the 28th, this coming, day after tomorrow, at 11:30 to 12:30 in front of the Larkin building. So we want Tim Kennedy. So I saw Tim Kennedy and I talked to him about this, and I said, what is this about you voting for or asking for increased funding for ICE or ICE administration, whatever that is supposed to mean, administer with their fists and their bullying and their guns. But anyway, and he said, oh, no. I asked for more money for border patrol.
For DHS. I asked for more money for DHS.
Well, he said Border Patrol when he was talking to me, but whichever one of them, which one of them, it's the same deal. And of course, Kirsten Gillibrand also missing in a lot of ways. And the other thing I want to say about our elected officials, we need them to act as if it's not business as usual. It needs to be active action, creative, just like us activists are trying to think creatively and get the things done that need to get done. The dithering around that has gone on ever since the first Trump administration that tried to lodge themselves and have an autocracy and a kleptocracy, a oligarchy, whatever else we want to call it, that he wouldn't leave, and he lied and tried to have an insurrection and everything. Then that all this time to get our houses in order to make sure that this criminal cannot do what they're doing, we blew it. So business as usual is not working. So let's see some creativity and some action. Okay, let's go around on that. Everybody who wants to take a piece. Macklin.
All right, I got a piece of this. I'll take a piece of this. I'm excited about it. So basically we got the party of duplicity and hypocrisy on one side, and then we got this other party who's like, establishments, respect, decorum, but also let's keep taking all of the donor money. And that's really the thing. Like Citizens United is going to stay forever as long as the people in power currently have their way. So in reality, what we're seeing is two sides of the same coin. A lot of the individuals who rise through the rankings of our political establishment start with the best of intentions and end up in these very, very complicated, very, very political partnerships and relationships, and they get so sucked into the bureaucracy and nonsense of it all that they kind of miss the bigger picture and they lose sight of what they got in it for the first place. I fear that Gillibrand is one of those individuals. Langworthy, I think Langworthy just does whatever Langworthy wants to do to fill Langworthy's needs personally. I don't think that Langworthy has any integrity whatsoever. But Gillibrand, I go back and forth with, because sometimes I'm like, oh, she's spot on. And then other times I'm like, have you been awake this year? So it's a little bit of a concern there. And what we're seeing is people trying to protect themselves from both their own party and the opposing party. And that is the problem. That is the problem we are seeing. There are so many people entrenched in this, what they perceive as the established proper way to run the Democratic Party. And it's not working. The party is impotent. The party has fallen from grace and it's not recovering because there's no integrity on our end either. I'm not seeing it from our officials. I look at Chuck Schumer and I feel betrayed. The leadership right now is not rising to the occasion. And that's why you have people marching in the streets. That's why you have people on your corners. That's why you have people like me who would rather, like, I need to go to work. I need to take care of my family. I got stuff to do. I want to direct a play. Like, I want to do my life stuff. I elected you to this position because this is what you told me your job was. And I'm doing your job and my own and living my life in the streets, trying to take care of my country because you aren't stepping up and you aren't acknowledging what is in front of you, what you see, what you hear, the lies, the danger, and every single constitutional right that has been stomped on by this administration should have already been an impeachable offense. How are we still here? And the reason, the way we're still here, though, is negligence and discounting and trying not to be too alarmist. Sorry, guys, the alarms were raised in January of the alarms were raised on January 6th.
Right. Exactly. So, Greg, do you want to add something there?
Not yet. I'm still processing.
Okay. Just checking since you're right there in this circle. So,
yeah. Okay. Well,
Peter.
I'll jump.
Peter.
Sorry to cut you off, Peter.
I'll go for it.
So I've recently been sending the emails through Representative Langworthy's website, and I get these. I suspect they're mostly boilerplate replies about all the great things they're doing. It's like, oh, come on, you can't really believe that that what you're saying is true, and they sugarcoat things, they gloss over things, and
we should have a day where we read our responses on air that we get from them and just compare. I think it'd be really funny.
I could almost do it now.
Plain lying.
Yeah, right. And I'll be as crass as to say bootlicking their party leadership, as opposed to, are they really representing us, or are they representing the thoughts of a few, and that few would be the party leadership and those that are employed by us to look after us.
Thank you, Greg. That's so important. That's exactly. There's so much of fear and obsequiousness. Peter.
So I am concerned that when we look at the behavior of a lot of politicians and leaders involved in politics in some way, that we see a lot of talk about morals, ethics, and doing what's right. And when it comes time to act, we don't see behavior based on that. We see behavior based off of power plays. And I feel like that happens everywhere, in every party, that it just seems that modern politics is speaking about morals and ethics and then acting disregarding them for power plays. And it is a major contributor to why some of us may feel betrayed, where we voted for people based on certain values, and then those values are talked about but not upheld. I would like more commitment to actually living up to those goals.
Yeah, and that back to integrity, accountability, and then going back to the whole string of characteristics that Macklin started out with. And I want to also mention Chuck Schumer, as he mentioned, in that very prominent spot of leadership, and also our senator representing us. I want to say we have a gathering. It's scheduled. That one might be a little more likely to come off. That one is scheduled for Tuesday, the 3rd, February 3rd, at 11:30 in front of Schumer's office building, or the office building Schumer's office is in Buffalo, 130 South Buffalo. South Elmwood Avenue, which is just a block up, really, or two from City Hall. And I want to also mention, just by the way, while we're on the air, for those of you who are listening, many of you may know about the Latin American Solidarity Committee, which was going to have a gathering today at Canisius University, their regular Peace Coffee House. They were going to have Jim Anderson, which God bless Jim Anderson, who's on he's national co-chair of Peace Action and president of Peace Action New York State, and Western New York Peace Center board member ex officio. He is going to, instead of doing it tonight, because the school is closed, they are having that gathering, which may likely to include some students, on February 2nd. So that's a week from today, Monday, February 2nd. So put that, I just check for it. I'm going to say check the Western New York Peace Center website, WNYPeace.org, because, and also you can check our Facebook page or Instagram accounts as well, because we still have to confirm the room to move the date. But that's the plan at the moment. We're hoping to do it just a week from today. But anyway, so getting on to back to, first of all, I think, we've got a little bit of time left. If anyone who's listening has a burning minute, bottom line minute of anything they want to add to the conversation, and I will say just a minute. Yes, thank you. 716-878-5104. It's 716-878-5104. And I'm going to say, just make it one, please not a run-on sentence at this point, because it's very late in the show. And I'm sorry, we've just had so much to say, as you see, because, there's a lot of knowledge and experience up here, and there's a lot of very strong feelings. And so if you want to call us now, just call us if you've got a statement or a question of a minute, please call us. So meanwhile, Max, back to you. So let's talk about how people can get more involved, how some of the different ways people can learn more and get more involved. Macklin, I think you're on mute.
I muted myself. I'm so sorry. I just get excited and I don't want to step over people. There are so many things that you can be doing right now. There are so many Americans right now who feel helpless, who feel overwhelmed, who feel inundated all the time by all the chaos. That's the goal. They're doing it on purpose. Okay. You're not crazy. You're completely sane. You are responding to this appropriately, because this is absolutely insane. Okay. So we all got you. And I can't tell you enough that by volunteering and getting involved is the most cathartic, most supportive, most enlightening, most fulfilling and heartening thing. Yesterday I went to a meeting at the Peace Center, for example, and it was just a room full of people who care about each other, about this community, and they're doing the work to try to fix things. So with that, don't slow down now. You can start by getting involved by reaching out to the Peace Center. The Power to the People website also has a community calendar where we have our events. So you can come and talk to us in person at one of our events. You can message us or reach out. If you're interested in getting involved in other ways, if you want to help refugees directly, volunteer with Justice for Migrant Families. It's a great organization here in Buffalo that is directly assisting migrants. If you want to help organize accountability and action here in Buffalo regarding our elected leadership, volunteer for OCAB. Our City Action Buffalo is stepping up and they are keeping our politicians and our leadership accountable. They are reporting on them. Check out Lola. They are the ones who are now suing the city of Buffalo because of Cop City. There are so many amazing organizations in our city who are doing the work to fix things. So you are not powerless. If anything, we found out that our elected leaders are powerless and we have the power. So keep working, okay? We need to do the work because no one else is going to come to save us.
We've got the people power to do it. And we've got the truth and love. Unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. Anyway, Greg.
Oh, I just also wanted to quickly mention Birdwatch. Birdwatch Buffalo is also another great task force to get involved in if you want to learn about rapid response to ICE activity here in our city. And as always, please be safe and understand the risks of what might happen. Please be safe.
And also Burn, which is Buffalo. So both of those, Burn, BRRN, Buffalo Refugee, Buffalo Rapid Response Network, and especially for reporting if you see ICE, go to the website of BIRD, Buffalo Immigrant and Refugee Defense, and their phone number. I had it memorized, now I can't remember it, but it's I'm sure we can give it to you before the end of this. We still have a few more minutes left, so I just want to go around it. And so anyone next that you have?
Greg, you want to take it,
sure.
Or could I go to?
Yeah, I'll keep a short one here. So you mentioned, Vicki, that Western New York Peace Center in particular and others do not tell people who to vote for or how to vote. So I'll just get on the stool and say, just please get out and vote. No matter what your preference is, the voter numbers still are abysmally low, whether it's especially local elections. Now, do I make every single one that I'm entitled to? No, but I make quite a few. And, one vote does count. The first vote I ever cast in my life when I was 18 was for my high school's annual school budget. And that budget passed by one vote.
Wow.
Had I not voted.
that is something.
Yeah.
So and I want to give shout out to check out League of Women Voters. League of Women Voters, they'll give you all the information you need. They also don't tell you how to vote. And I want to say about voting, necessary but not sufficient. Anyway, Peter, so there's so much before they even pick the candidate, as we said. So we need all of it. But anyway, Peter.
I'll add on for other groups in the area, if you're concerned about housing affordability, Push Buffalo focuses a lot on making housing more affordable. There's one side focusing on housing, especially in regards to renters, and one side focused on the environmental side, where making our homes a bit more green. There's also the Buffalo DSA, who also has their own component for affordable housing, as well as healthcare. A lot of them care quite a bit about how our hospitals are run and how healthcare is given, and improving that system as well.
And their own candidates too, I want to say. So if you want to check out their candidates, I think they have people running. For example, for I think check out something for tomorrow afternoon. I hear they have some kind of an event that I think it's Adam Bojack is running. Or what is he running for? I know this. Anyway, so there's all kinds of for he's running. One of the things he's running for is to pass New York for all, but he's also a candidate for assembly, of course, assembly. I'm sorry, just my brain. So anyway, and
Vicky,
I
you mind if I clarify one thing?
Also, Buffalo United Coalition is another big, important coalition of many groups. Go ahead. What were you going to say, Max?
I just wanted to quickly add. I hope. Can you hear me still?
Yep.
Okay, good. Because one of my headphones just died. Okay. So I just wanted to quickly add and thank Greg. When I say that our elected leadership is not working for us, I'm not saying don't vote. I'm saying vote because they're not working for us. Use your vote. And if anything, vote on another line to send a message. You can still vote for the constituent, and typically they're on another line too. So keep that in mind, okay? Working Families Party. Yep. So anyway, please do vote. And if you don't like the options you're seeing, run for something. Run for something. Or write one in. Or run for something. Because a lot of the people out here listening, if you're listening to this, you might care more than an elected official.
Thank you for all of that, Max. So true. And thank you for pointing out about the voting. Voting is so important. Voter drives is so important. And also paying attention to the way things are structured. Working for ranked choice voting, for example, working to stop them from taking away people's votes. The trivia that's going, not trivia, it's freaking bombs that are being set to our voting rights when they want to say that the kinds of hoops that they want to make people jump through before they get to vote, especially women, or especially anybody who's making any changes in their name, in their stated gender identity, or any of it. It's just horrific. So anyway, Peter, I didn't mean to cut into that. What would you say about we're coming around to the end, towards the end. So why don't we give you each another minute or two for anything you really think to stress about what we need from our elected officials.
When we vote them in, it's not just about voting them in based on their promises, but also keeping them accountable. Your work with them does not end when you vote them into office. Keep them accountable for their promises, and as situations change, make sure that they are aware of what you really want as someone who voted for them, someone who's in their area that they're supposed to represent. It's not just about electing them in and then sitting back and doing nothing. It is an ongoing process to keep them accountable.
Thank you. And okay, so we'll work backwards in this particular instance. Greg, do you have something?
I'm sure I did at one point. Now it is gone. Sorry.
Well, the contribution about voting is so important. So thank you for bringing that up, because we have to start with that, and helping with voter drives too. So that's very important, and there's all kinds of work there. Thank you. And Max?
Yeah, like Peter said, use your votes. Primary people who aren't doing the work. Okay, we don't have to be affixed to this party system anymore because it's not working for us. And be safe, be smart, check your information. Don't share misinformation. You are your own best advocate out there, and it's your responsibility to make sure that how you are advocating is by sending the right message and the correct information out there and not adding to the noise and the chaos. And don't give up. We've got this. Keep going. Keep fighting. Keep being peaceful. And justice for Renee Good and for Alex. Alex. It's hard and it's difficult, especially when they look just like us. They sound just like us. They're us. We are them. You know, it's horrible to see these things happen. But we're not alone in this, guys. So keep fighting.
And even more so for those two, it's not like they were throwing Molotov cocktails or hitting people. My goodness, just that made it. Can I say it? It made it even worse. What happened to them? And then there was a third name that I saw this past week. Another person who was killed by ICE recently, and I can't come up with that person's name.
The individual on New Year's Eve, perhaps.
I bet that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. That was another horrible incident.
Yeah.
Where someone acted in a way that wasn't the necessary force.
Well, thank you both for that. And Peter, your final thought for now?
No, I thought I had my final word already.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes,
final.
You did, because we were going backwards. Thank you. See, this is why I never was. I don't usually. I've followed the Haudenosaunee that you go counterclockwise. So I just want to say, first of all, that I'm so grateful for each one of you for all the contributions you make. I want to say on that last note, of course, you know. I just wrote an article that was in, both the Latino Village and the Challenger, but basically this has been very clear for BIPOC people. This is welcome to my world. It's always been like that for especially Black, Indigenous, and people of color, as well as poor people in general, you know, if they get in the way, or activists, but especially, you know, this is, you know, the rampant government-sponsored violence is nothing new. It's just gotten on steroids and it's just spreading like wildfire. However, crisis equal to opportunity, and we have the unarmed truth and unconditional love, the civil resistance. And you watch the civil resistance around you, as Macklin was saying, it is the biggest, it's a wonderful antidote. It's what we need, and it helps us keep going. And it's a joy thing together to be working in truth and love together through all the bumpy parts. So anyway, all I can say is I'm so grateful for each one of you. This is Talking Peace, and together we've been talking peace in truth and love.